Hey guys, welcome back to Wentworth Life, the YouTube channel that talks all things Wentworth. Now, if you're new to the channel, then don't forget to hit that subscribe button right now for all future updates. Okay guys, well, I am back today with another episode review. Season 1, Episode 2, Fly Me Away. So, at the end of the last episode, we were left with Governor Meg Jackson dead on the floor. Now, as soon as this episode begins, we see a few of the different inmates being questioned about what they saw. We've got Doreen telling the cops that she reckons that Mrs. Jackson had been dead on the floor for a while. And we also have B. Smith. She's pleading her innocence and telling the cops that she just fell over the dead body. She had nothing to do with it. We then see that Will Jackson is actually rewatching some of these police interviews because he is eager to catch the killer. And this reflects a lot of Will's mood for the most part of this episode. I mean, he starts getting very desperate to catch the killer, and at one point he even threatens Doreen and Kaya, saying that all it will take is one drugs bust and the kid is gone, Doreen. And he tells Doreen to start with B. Smith. Like, this scene always makes me a little bit uncomfortable. In fact, I can actually remember when I first saw this scene, Will was actually in my bad books for a couple of weeks. This results in Doreen attacking B with a piece of glass, telling her that she needs to know what happened to Meg Jackson, but B tells her that she didn't see anything, and Doreen, she ends up cutting her own hand and she ends up running off upset. Now, this leads me on to Doreen, because in season 1, each episode for the most part was dedicated to one character's backstory. And this episode was all about Doreen. So we learn in flashback scenes that Doreen, she ended up going to a party while she was quite heavily pregnant. She ended up getting herself into a state, thinking that she was invincible. She then gets into a car, totally wasted, and causes a big car crash, hurting other people in the other car, which also then caused Doreen's unborn baby to die. It's absolutely heartbreaking and horrifying to listen and watch. It's a really sad story. Now, Doreen, she openly takes responsibility of what happened. She also says that being in prison was probably the best thing to ever happen to her because it really straightened her out. There is also another bombshell with Doreen, because we learn that Kaya isn't actually Doreen's daughter. Doreen is just the alternate carer because Kaya's real mum, Tony, isn't coping very well. She's in H block with Doreen, and Doreen is doing her very best to try and help Tony, but Tony, she's on the drugs and she's in a real bad way, and it gets to a point that Doreen soon realizes that having Kaya in prison is no longer working. So in a heartbreaking scene, Doreen sets Tony up to get caught while she is pinned, knowing that this is going to mean that Kaya will no longer be allowed to stay at the prison. Always breaks my heart, especially when Doreen says goodbye to Kaya in some really sad scenes. Now, there is a moment that is actually a little nod to Prisoner in the final scene when Kaya gives Doreen the teddy bear, and then Doreen, she ends up crying into the teddy just as the episode ends. Well, the original Doreen in Prisoner was very well known to have a teddy bear that she often used to cry into, so this is definitely Wentworth giving Prisoner a cheeky little nod there. And Doreen, she really outshone this whole episode in my opinion. She did a brilliant job. Back to Will Jackson for just a moment, and he's starting to pretty much lose it because he realizes that when the police give him all of Meg's possessions, there was no bracelet. So whoever killed Meg took her bracelet. So Will, he forces Vera to do another ramp of the prison, and when the search doesn't find the bracelet, Will loses it in the car park with Fletcher, and Will ends up punching him in the face. Speaking of Vera, oh my god, Vera really annoys me in this episode. So Vera, she is the acting governor, but she's doing such a really bad job. She has no confidence, no leadership skills, She really is as meek as a lamb, and this doesn't go unnoticed by Channing, the general manager, which, by the way, this is the first time we get to see Channing, and it's also the first time we get to see Linda Miles. Now, I totally forgot to mention Erica Davidson in episode 1, but Erica does something quite sneaky in this episode when she gets one of her reporter friends to write up an article that really paints Vera in a bad light as the acting governor. And eventually this ends up resulting in Vera being sidelined once again, and Erica then takes over as Wentworth's new governor. Ooh, sneaky bitch. It's also worth mentioning that Frankie, she's got the hots for Erica, and Erica, she's been working very closely with Frankie, when Frankie's been studying, and Frankie does not seem pleased about Erica getting the new top job. Now, there is a moment where Erica nearly doesn't get this job because after Tony is caught, with the drugs and she's pinned by Fletcher, there is this teacher guy who Erica has installed in the prison who ends up confessing to Erica that he was the one who was supplying Tony the drugs. Now, Erica is understandably furious and she orders him to leave the prison. She will make it all go away. So Erica literally keeps quiet in order to get the governorship. And when I first saw this, I can remember thinking to myself, what else would Erica do in order to stay on top? Don't forget, guys, at this stage we still didn't know who had killed Meg Jackson, and I can distinctly remember my radar was originally beeping at this stage at Erica Davidson. So what's been happening with B. Smith in this episode? Well, B has been trying to get into contact with daughter Debbie, but her horrible husband Harry is being a complete arsehole and isn't answering the telephone or letting Debbie talk to B, and he even goes into the prison to visit B to try and tell her to stop calling and to let things settle down for a little bit, which really makes my blood boil. In fact, Harry Smith really infuriates me. Luckily, Doreen has a really nice chat with B and convinces B to keep trying, which B does end up doing, and she rings Debbie towards the end of the episode, and Debbie, she finally answers the phone while Harry is taking a shower, and I always get like little tears in my eyes when they finally get to chat. This show really does make me an emotional mess sometimes. Jax is pretty quiet in this episode. We don't really get to see her that much apart from when I remember a distinctive scene where she's talking to Liz in the queue for the phones, and Jax is basically telling Liz that she was in her unit at the time of the Meg Jackson murder. We did get to see a little bit of a funny side to Boomer for the very first time, and this is when the women, they end up dancing to a song called Hot Potato, which is just so cute and adorable. I actually think that this might have been the very first time where I was thinking to myself, I wonder if Boomer is going to play a part of a little bit of comedy in Wentworth, because, Wentworth is a pretty dark show and we definitely need that comedy element. But yeah, I really do remember thinking that when I first saw this episode and I saw Boomer dancing to the hot potato stuff. Anyway, all in all, it's a great episode. Lots of tears, some edge of your seat moments, a few twists and turns, and a murder mystery all thrown together in the mix. Now, just a few final thoughts on this episode, and I do love the music that they use in this show. They really know how to pick certain songs that's really gonna hit you in the heart and in the feels. Peter actually full-on cries at the ending of this episode when Doreen says goodbye to Kaya for one last time, and he doesn't often cry like that. He gets a few tears, but he doesn't full-on cry, but the ending of this episode always gets to him. So if I had to pick a favorite moment from this episode, it would be the moment where B and Debbie, they first get to chat on the phone for the very first time. And my least favorite moment has to be when Will Jackson threatens Doreen and Kaya. I'm just not okay with that. I know I fancy the pants off you, Mr. Jackson, but you you overstepped the mark there. Okay guys, well now I want to hear all of your thoughts on this episode. What do you think of episode 2? And what did you think when you first saw that, the Doreen bombshell backstory with the Kaya twist? I can remember my mouth dropped when I first saw it, so let me know all of your comments in the box below. Okay then guys, well episode 3 will be up next Wednesday. I really hope you're enjoying these video reviews. If you're also into Prisoner Cell Block H, then these episode reviews will be starting this weekend and every weekend going forward, so make sure that you're subscribed because you're not going to want to miss a moment of it. Okay then guys, well thank you all for watching, take care out there, and I'll see you all again very soon.